In the heart of the Middle Ages, an Irish monk called Saint Malachi wrote a series of visions that revealed the future of the Catholic Church. Among his writings comes a mysterious prophecy that the papacy would have an abrupt end, with one last pope before the apocalypse. They are Malachi described in impressive details the papal succession until the end of time. Each pope would be symbolized by an enigmatic phrase, a kind of code that would indicate characteristics of his personality or papacy. What is most curious is that as the popes were being elected, many believed that these prophecies were fulfilled with accuracy. But what about the last prophecy, which talks about Petrus Romanus, the final pope, the last one who will rule before the destruction of Rome and the end of the world? What a Malachi would really be foreseen? And was he referring to something? Yet, how can these words connect with the future papal and the questions the Church faces today? Let's try to understand what is behind this mysterious prediction. Imagine a sequence of popes, each with a curious name, encrypted in a symbol or a peculiar feature. They are Malachi, in their views, described an impressive list that extends to the future, even a pope whose reign would be the last before the end of the world. The series of popes begins with Pope Celestino II, but as the names follow each other, their descriptions become more specific, more dramatic, almost as if the future was already written between his words. With each porridge that emerged, the accuracy of the predictions of Saint Malachi was confirmed. But the last prophecy is the most intriguing, Petrus Romanus, that is, Peter Roman. This pope would be the last on the list and, according to the prophecy, the end of the Catholic Church would be linked to his reign. But the big question is, who is this pope? And how does the Petrus Romanus fit the scene of an increasingly divided church? What if the prophecy were not talking about the physical end of the church, but about a deep spiritual transformation? As we approach the end of the list of popes of St. Malachi, the tension begins to grow. The last pope, Petrus Romanus, emerges as an enigmatic figure whose characteristics lead us to think of something much larger than a simple pontiff. According to prophecy, this pope would rule the church in the last days of humanity, and his papacy would be marked by great tribulations. Prophecy suggests that the Pope of Petrus Romanus will witness the destruction of Rome and the fall of the Catholic Church, a catastrophic event that would signal the apocalypse. But would the Church be possible to prepare for such a transformation? Many scholars suggest that we are experiencing times of great changes, with the Church facing internal and external challenges that can align with this forecast. Cardinal Robert Sarah, a powerful figure within the Catholic Church and known for his conservative postures, is often mentioned as someone who could be the Petrus Romanus. If this were true, what would it mean for the Church and the future of Christianity? Would we really be on the edge of the end times? If you have never heard about the Black Pope, you are likely to be surprised to hear this term being associated with a future pontiff. And interestingly, many believe that Cardinal Robert Sarah, a strong and influential figure in the Catholic Church, is the name that will become the next Pope, the famous Black Pope. It is not only known for its African origin, but also for its firm and conservative posture, which generates an instant connection with this theory. But what does someone like Robert Sarah to be pointed out as the successor of St. Malachi? After all, prophecy talks about a pope who will mark a radical change in church history. It represents the transition from one era to another. For many, their election would be a sign of spiritual renewal, but for others, it could mean a break. Cardinal Sarah has already been suggested as a figure that would bring to the church a deep change, perhaps even a historical turnaround. But is he really intended to be Petrus Romanus? Or is this theory just a speculation game based on apocalyptic fears? If you are enjoying this mystery and want to know more about how church prophecies can connect with current events, enjoy this video now and comment on the city you're watching. Let's see if you have more people from the same locality. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so as not to lose any revelation about this and other fascinating topics. Now continue with us as we explore the next steps of this intriguing story. St. Malachi's prophecy would not be complete without reference to the apocalypse. Many believe that she is directly linked to John's words about the last days of humanity, the end of Rome, and the destruction of the church. Malachi seem to predict that the Catholic Church, as we know it, would undergo a radical transformation, possibly associated with the apocalyptic events described in the biblical scriptures. The similarities between the description of Petrus Romanus and the apocalyptic view of a final leader before the end of time are notable. But what does that really mean? Is the Catholic Church preparing for a period of great tribulation? And what would be the role of the last pope, this Peter Roman, in all this? Some believe that Pope Francis, in his papacy, is already fulfilling part of this prophecy, leading the church in times of great crises. Others claim that the next papal figure will truly end the age of the popes, preparing the church for the final transition according to the apocalyptic views. Would they be Malachi pointing to the biblical truth about the end of time? But before we deepen further in speculation, is it important to question, is the prophecy of St. Malachi true, or is it all a myth created over the centuries? Many scholars claim that while prophecy has been impressively accurate in some descriptions, its authenticity is questionable. Some historians believe it was written after the fact, or that parts of it have been manipulated to fit into historical events. The Irish monk who allegedly made these predictions never left clear evidence that he really had such visions. The truth is that prophecy has been used more as a reflection of human hopes and fears than as a true and undeniable prediction. Still, she continues to fascinate Catholics and scholars around the world. The fact is that over time, the popes on the list of St. Malachi continue to emerge, and with that, doubt remains. How far can this prophecy really predict the future of the Church? The Catholic Church, in turn, has always been cautious when it comes to prophecies like St. Malachi's. Although many people inside the Church, and even outside it, gets in the idea of a final pope, the institution prefers to maintain a prudent position. The Church never officially endorsed the prophecy of St. Malachi, treating it as a historical curiosity more than a divine vision. This raises an interesting question. Is the Church trying to avoid speculation around the end times? Or does it recognize that popular prophecy can reflect a collective restlessness about the future of faith? What is certain is that throughout history, many popes have come to power without prophecy to fit perfectly with their characteristics, which leaves the mystery open. The last prophecy, with the figure of Petrus Romanus, remains unknown. But many believe that somehow the Church is preparing to face a great transformation. Are we closer to the end of an era? In the heart of the Catholic Church, there has always been a space reserved for prophets and prophecies. Since ancient times, spiritual leaders, such as the popes, have had to deal with interpretations and revelations of the future. Prophecies are part of the Christian tradition, and although the Church in general is cautious with extraordinary revelations, it also recognizes that some may be manifestations of a deeper truth. The figure of the prophets in the Bible, like Isaiah or Daniel, also has a great influence on how people see the prophecy of St. Malachi. These ancient prophets spoke of spiritual leaders and approaching great changes, often linked to cosmic events and the end of time. The question therefore remains, what is the role of these prophecies in modern times? Should we look at them as a spiritual guide or as a reflection of human hopes and fears about the future? Looking at Pope Francis's pontificate, many Catholics wonder if he fits into the prophecy of St. Malachi. Some scholars interpret the current Pope's description as pastor and navigator, a reference to his compassionate leadership style and his travels around the world. However, the last prophecy, which talks about the Petrus Romanus, does not fit exactly with Francis. Is he just fulfilling a transition role, or does he play a deeper role to play? Some believe that Francis is preparing the Church for a new chapter, perhaps even for the arrival of a pope who will mark the end of an era. If St. Malachi's prophecy is right, what to expect from Francisco's succession? Will we be close to seeing the last pope announced? Or is Francisco even more to contribute to the Church before this transition happens? In recent years, rumors about the arrival of a new pope, who would be the last according to prophecies, have spread around the world. Some believe Cardinal Robert Sarah is chosen, given his conservative profile and African origin. If this were true, how would this change the Catholic Church? The concept of an African pope is fascinating, as it represents a historical transformation within an institution that has always been very centered on Europe. Moreover, the theory of Black Papa is intrinsically linked to the idea that the Church is preparing for a new phase, perhaps a symbolic ending of a cycle. Are we really on the verge of such a profound change? Or are these rumors a speculation driven by the fear of the unknown? The fact is that, whatever the next pope, St. Malachi's prophecies continue to generate debates and reflections on the future of the Church and the role of faith in final times. So what do you think about the prophecy of St. Malachi? Do you believe we are close to the end of an era within the Catholic Church? Leave your opinion in the comments. Did you like the video? So don't forget to like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so as not to lose the next videos about the greatest mysteries of the Church and prophecy. Let's continue this journey together.